So he said, وَبِالسُّكُونِ قِفْ عَلَى الْمُحَرَّكَةِ وَزِيدَ الْإِشْمَامُ لِضَمِّ الْحَرَكَةِ. So when you stop, you can either do ishmam, sukoon, or rawm. If you look at it, there's a little table here with the thing. Sukoon, ishmam, and rawm. Sukoon, when you just stop at a sukoon, this is the norm. This is the normal rule as it relates to stopping. To stop with a sukoon. To stop with a sukoon means that you complete the letter that you are stopping on to the end where no sound comes off of that letter.
First is, what's the literal meaning of sukoon?
Sukoon means stable, no movement. Haraka means movement.
Sukoon is what again? Sorry? Stable.
Yeah, to be stable. Sakana, to be still.
Okay.
So, sukoon means you complete the letter that you're on. Now this is important because a lot of people when they recite, they don't complete the letter. So what they'll be reciting is a half of a letter, a quarter of a letter, a third of a letter, something like that. Not a complete letter. That is not permissible. So for example, if noon, the sound noon, if you have a sukoon on it, will be n. So if somebody stops at, for example, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. If you stop before that complete, then you're cutting the noon down. So if somebody says Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, sounds normal, but a bit of the noon is missing. So sukoon means you complete. So Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, not Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. That's why I said in the last lesson, you listen to some people and they sound like everybody else, but they're not reciting properly. So sukoon is the norm. This is how you should stop, and this is the norm in stopping. But you can go beyond that if you have certain conditions that we're going to talk about. So sukoon is the norm. That's why he said, وَبِالسُّكُونِ قِفْ. If you're going to stop, stop with a sukoon. Now when he says sukoon, it means absolutely no vowelization. Sometimes it's difficult because sometimes you don't intend to do a vowel, but just the lips, if you just leave it relaxed, it creates a vowel. So for example, if you say Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, if I put a mic here, that is going to create a fatha. So it sounds, if somebody really listens to it, it sounds like Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. And that ma is not, because that's a bit of a fatha. So sukoon means you complete the letter without any sound at all. So وَبِالسُّكُونِ قِفْ عَلَى الْمُحَرَّكَةِ. Even when the letter that you're stopping on has a vowel. So Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, that there's a dhamma on the mim, but you don't pronounce that. You stop at the sukoon. So he said, وَبِالسُّكُونِ قِفْ عَلَى الْمُحَرَّكَةِ وَزِيدَ الْإِشْمَامُ لِضَمِّ الْحَرَكَةِ. If there is a dhamma on the last letter that you're going to stop, if there's a dhamma on it, you can do something called ishmam. And this is only when there is those who can observe the recitation. If you're by yourself, nobody can see your lips, or you're in the presence of people who cannot see, then you don't do ishmam. Now what ishmal is to do the movement of the lips as if you are pronouncing a dhamma, but without pronouncing the dhamma. So you just put the lips as if you're doing a dhamma, but without pronouncing any sounds. So I can't see myself do it, but it'll be something like Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. I made a sound. You're not supposed to make any sound. So it's Rahim. So anybody who's observing knows that the letter that you stopped on has a dhamma. This is called ishmal.
That's the one we're using in Surah Yusuf, Shaykh.
Throughout the Qur'an.
But you know, there's that word that's in between, like it's in the inner verse, Malaka la ta'man ala Yusuf. Is that the one where there's like, you can do either?
No.
What's
There's
that?
a difference of opinion when it comes to ishmal, whether it's only for the ending of words or if it's also permissible in between. And the majority says only for the ending of the words. Yeah. So if you have a word that ends with dhamma, then you can do al-ishmal. So he said, وَزِيدَ الْإِشْمَامُ لِضَمِّ الْحَرَكَةِ وَالرَّوْمُ فِيهِ مِثْلُ كَسْرِ الْأُصِّلَةِ وَالْفَتْحُ ذَانِ عَنْهُ حَتْمًا حُذِّلَ. So he says, وَالرَّوْمُ فِيهِ. Also, if something ends with dhamma, you can also do a rawm. Rawm is where you pronounce quarter, not a quarter, maybe a third of the sound. So if something ends with a kasra, something ends with an e, or something ends with a dhamma, u, rawm is to pronounce a third of that sound while you're ending the word. So if you were to imagine like your finger, imagine the entire sound lasting the entire finger. So oo like this, oo. Then you only pronounce a third. The finger has 3 parts, so rawm is just a third. We're like oo. So instead of oo, oo, instead of e, e, small, quick sound to end the letters. He says, وَالرَّوْمُ فِيهِ, and if something ends with a dhamma, you can either do sukoon. If you look at the table, if something ends with dhamma, you can either end it with a sukoon, with ishmal, or with rawm. He says, مِثْلُ كَسْرٍ أُصِّلَ. Also, if something ends with a kasra, you can also do rawm, if the dhamma and the kasra are asli. So, if it's madmoom, if it ends with a dhamma, you can end with sukoon or rawm or ishmal. If it ends with a kasra, you end with a sukoon or rawm. And then he says, وَالْفَتْحُ ذَانِ عَنْهُ حَتْمًا حُذِّلَ. But if something ends with a fatha, then rawm and ishmal cannot be done, which leaves one option only, and that is sukoon. So basically, if something ends, if you're ending on a letter that has a vowel, if it's a fatha, then you end with sukoon only. If it's a kasra, then you end with sukoon or rawm. If it ends with dhamma, then you can end with sukoon or rawm or al-ishmal. Now, how to do the ishmal properly? How to do the rawm properly? How to end with sukoon properly? These are things you have to practice with a proper teacher of recitation, because it takes practice. It takes a long time, and you need somebody who's an expert to observe your lips, to tell you exactly how to place your lips and how to move your tongue and everything. Because the science of qira'ah is very specific when it comes to the movement of the tongue and the lips, and to have somebody to stop you from reciting from your nose and all of these type of things. I had one teacher who used to put his hand on my nose. So you'd read and then let you read for a while. And he would let you get into it. Once you read, you get into it and you go in, you squeeze your nose. If the recitation stops, it means you'll be reciting from your nose. And that's not supposed to happen. So stuff like that. Or sometimes they make you read in slow motion. If you read in slow motion, you can pick up every single sound that you're making. That if you read fast, sometimes you're not getting it. So sometimes if you have a sukoon in the middle of a word, you're not stopping on it, it's in the middle of a word. Sukoon is not supposed to have any sounds, but sometimes you make a sound. Right? So sometimes the sound is so subtle that you don't hear it, but if you read in slow motion, you pick it up. So for example, you say, Rahma. Sometimes you read fast, you'll say something like Rahma. And it sounds okay, but if you slow it down, what you will hear is Rahma. And that ha is not there, it's a sukoon. So Rahma. So you need an expert to observe all of these things and to stop you, because it takes a long time. So he says, وَبِالسُّكُونِ قِفْ عَلَى الْمُحَرَّكَةِ وَزِيدَ الْإِشْمَامُ لِضَمِّ الْحَرَكَةِ وَالرَّوْمُ فِيهِ مِثْلُ كَسْرِ أُصِّلَ وَالْفَتْحُ ذَانِ عَنْهُ حَتْمًا هُذِلَ. So that's that part. Then he says, وَفِي الْهَاءِ الَّتِي بِالتَّاءِ رَسْمًا خُلْفُ وَيْكَأَنَّ لِلْكِسَاءِ وَقْفٌ. Now he's saying that there's a difference of opinion on the ta that is written in the Qur'an. Ta at the end of a word. That is written in the Qur'an instead of a ta marbuta, it's written mabsuta. Ta marbuta is that little ta that goes like that. It ends like that with the two dots at the top. It's not stretched out like a normal ta. So those words in the Mus'haf, where you find it in the Mus'haf of Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu. And when I say the Mus'haf of Uthman, the Masahif that was were written under the command of Uthman. So those words, sometimes you find them not written with the constructed ta, but you find it written out. Now the rule of stopping at a ta marbuta is that you pronounce it as a ha. So you're stopping it. So if you stop at, for example, rahma, you won't say rahmat, you'll say rahmah. But there's a difference of opinion when we find those ta, instead of written in the Mus'haf as marbuta, they're written out completely. If you stop at them, do you recite them as ta, or do you recite them as ha? So some of the ulama, they worked with the normal rule, which is to stop on it as a ha. So that will be the qira'ah of Abu Amr, Al-Kisa'i, Ibn Kathir, Ibn Kathir according to the riwayah of Al-Bizi. So they would stop on it as a ha. In other words, they keep the normal rule. The other qurra, whenever they stop, they would stop on it as a ta, because we find it this way in the Mus'haf. So, Inna rahmatallahi qareebun min al-muhsinin. If they stop at rahmah in that ayah, those who say ha would say inna rahmah. Those who say ta, inna rahmat. So, she said, وَفِي الْهَاءِ الَّتِي بِالتَّاءِ رَسْمًا خُلْفُ. As it relates to the ha that is written as a ta. Meaning normally it would be pronounced as a ha, but it's written out as a ta in the Mus'haf. Khulfu, there's a difference of opinion concerning that. Another place where there's a difference of opinion, he said, وَيْكَأَنَّ لِلْكِسَاءِ وَقْفٌ. In the Qur'an, وَيْكَأَنَّ. وَيْكَأَنَّ اللَّهُ يَبْسُطُ الرِّزْقُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ وَيَقْدِرُ. وَيْكَأَنَّ, he says, لِلْكِسَاءِ وَقْفُ. Imam al-Kisa'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he stops at the kaf. When we say he stops, he allows stopping at the ya. So, وَيْكَأَنَّ, stop at the way, permissible to say way كأن instead of way كأن. So he says للكسائي وقف. الإمام الكسائي رحمه الله سبحانه وتعالى made a, and he says permissible to stop there. Sorry, let's go back to the first one because there are some other rulings there. The ta and the ha pronunciation, ta and the ha. The same difference applies to things like an example would be abati. In the Qur'an, abati, there are 6 occurrences of that word in the Qur'an. Ya abati f'al ma tu'mar satajiduni insha'Allah min as-salihin. Abati, here we said in the notes it says Ibn Kathir, Ibn Amir, Abu Ja'far, and Ya'qub would stop at the ta. If they pronounce, they will pronounce it as ta, ya abat, instead of ya abah. The others would say abah. Same thing, we have words like hayhat, hayhata lima tu'adun, mardat, lat. So al-Kisa'i would stop at with ha, hayhat. And then Busy, who is the narrator of his qira'ah, followed him, but only as it relates to the word hayhat. So he would stop like al-Kisa'i, hayhat, but mardat, he would stop at ta, mardat, and lat, he would stop with ta. These are just information to know. Otherwise, the place to really get into this is the science of qira'ah. So anyway, he said, وَيْكَأَنَّ لِلْكِسَاءِ وَقْفُ. So al-Kisa'i stops at way and then starts at and he starts at كَأَنَّ. Then he says, مِنْهَا عَلَى الْيَاءِ وَأَبُو عَمْرٍ وَعَلَى كَافٍ لَهَا وَبَعْدُهُمْ قَدْ حَمَلَ. So he says, Abu Amr also, when it comes to way ka'anna, al-Kisa'i stops, he says, way ka'anna. Abu Amr stops at the kaf, or permits stopping at the kaf. So, way ka'anna, Abu Amr would stop at the kaf, wake, and then start with inna. Not anna, but start with inna. So, way ka'anna, Abu Amr permits wake inna Allah, and you start back with inna. And this is something mentioned by Imam al-Shatibi rahimahullah ta'ala in his poem, but others say that this difference really does not exist. So there's a difference of opinion concerning whether this is a correct transmission of the qira'ah of Kisa'i and of the qira'ah of Abu Amr. So some of them say yes, this is a correct transmission of that qira'ah, of those qira'ah, and others say no, that their recitation where this is concerned is like everybody else, which is you go way ka'anna, you can stop at the noon. Anyway, and then he says وَوَقَفُوا بِلَامِ نَحْوِ مَالِ هَذَا الرَّسُولِ مَا عَدَى الْمَوَالِ. So he says, where it comes to, anyway, we read the whole bit and then we'll talk. He says, وَوَقَفُوا بِلَامِ نَحْوِ مَالِ هَذَا الرَّسُولِ مَا عَدَى الْمَوَالِ السَّابِقَيْنِ فَعَلَى مَا وَقَفُوا وَالشِّبْهُ ذَا الْمِثَالِ نَحْوَهُ قَفُوا. So he said that when it comes to words like وَمَالِ, and then they, وَمَالِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَمَالِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, or وَمَالِ هَذَا الرَّسُولِ, or مَالِ هَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرًا, or فَمَالِ هَؤُلَاءِ الْقَوْمِ لَا يَكَادُونَ يَفْقَهُونَ حَدِيثًا. When it comes to these, he's saying that Al-Kisa'i and Abu Amr permits stopping at the ma. So, فَمَا, and then stop. Al-Kisai and Abu Amr, according to the narration of Ash-Shatibi. The others permit stopping at either the alif or the lam. Fama, like Al-Kisai and Abu Amr, or famali. So Ash-Shatibi says that Al-Kisai and Abu Amr permitted stopping at the ma, not at the lam. The others permit stopping at the alif and the lam. According to Imam Ibn Jazari, rahimahullah, Al-Kisai and Abu Amr also permitted stopping at either the lam or the alif. So Shatibi says only the alif. Ibn al-Jazari said the alif and the lam like everybody else. But all of them agree that when you resume, you do not resume from, yani you go back and continue, but you don't start from am. If you say, for example, فَمَا, you don't resume from لِهَذَا الرَّسُولِ. Or you don't say فَمَا لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Or وَمَا لِهَذَا الرَّسُولِ. You don't do that. You go back. So everybody, the difference is on where is it permitted to stop. At the alif or the lam. So let's say somebody's running out of breath. And they're reading, they're running out of breath. Or they're feeling a sneeze coming on or a cough. Where do they stop? At the lam or the alif? So the difference is on where to stop. Where to continue from? Everybody says go back and read from the beginning. مَا لِهَذَا فَمَا لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and so on. So وَوَقَفُوا بِهِ لَا مِنْ نَحْوِ مَالِ هَذَا الرَّسُولِ مَا عَدَى الْمَوَالِ السابقين فعلى ما وقفوا والشبه ذا المثال نحوه قفوا. Then he goes to something called al-imala. Al-imala is where you pronounce a fatha close to a kasra. The sound of a fatha is between a fatha and a kasra. And the sound of the alif, a specific type of alif, is between alif and ya. And this is a common pronunciation for many of the Arabs. Not the Hijazis, not the people of Mecca and Medina and Munawwara, but the people of Asham. Even up to today, the people of Asham pronounce it. So for example, Rahma, Ma, that's Al-Hijaz. Even today, the people of Asham will say Rahmi instead of Ma, Mi. So this is called Iman. The short one and the long one. So A becomes A. And A becomes A. So this is called Al-Imala. And there is Imala Sughra and Imala Kubra. There is major Imala and minor Imala. Major Imala is where the sound is more towards the kasra and the ya than it is towards the alif, which means the tongue is higher. If fatha, when you pronounce fatha, the tongue is flat. Ah, it's just not going up at all. When you pronounce ya in its fullest form, the tongue is curved like this, almost touching the palate. So if you say the tongue is up. If you say the tongue is completely flat. So imala al-kubra is where the tongue is higher, so that the sound is closer to a ya. Imala sughra is where the tongue is flatter, so it's closer to the alif or the fatha. So وَالضُّحِي If you read it, alif, والضحى. In some qira'ah, he's saying والضحى. والضحى. The tongue curved. So والضحى والضحى والليل إذا سجى instead of sajad. That is what is called imala. So he said in the poem, حمزة والكسائي قد أمالا مليا أصله اسما أو أفعالا. So he said Hamza and Al-Kisai, Hamza and Al-Kisai قد أمالا. For the two of them, they do imala. The norm of their recitation is imala. That's the norm. That's the standard of the recitation of Al-Kisai and of Hamza is that they do imala. He says malya asluhu, of anything that is any alif where the original letter is supposed to be a ya. How the ya became an alif, that's for the science of Arabic language, an entire discipline in the Arabic language that studies the morphology and the changing of words. But if the original is a ya, but it's pronounced as an alif, then according to Hamza and Al-Kisai, all of those are going to be pronounced with imalat al-kubra. So he says, حمزة والكساء قد أمالا مليا أصله. Yani whatever the asl of it, it's alif, but the asl, the original is ya, whether it's a noun or a verb. Noun like duha. Verb like yakhsha, yawsha. Those any words, those are verbs. So whether it's a verb or whether it's a noun, it's going to be pronounced with imala. Yes, a, yes, a, instead of yes, nah. The pronunciation, to really get it properly, you need to go with somebody who is an expert in the field, so they can show you how to do it and evaluate how well you're doing. So Hamza wal Kisai qad amala maliya asluhu isman aw af'ala. So anyway, he'll continue. And then he says, Anna bima'na kayfa ma bil ya'i nusim hatta ila lada ala zaka iltuzim. Anna, the word anna, he says when it has the meaning of kayfa. The word in Arabic anna, when it means kayfa, kayfa means how. Anna laki hada. Right? How in. So when it has the meaning of how, or the meaning of hatta, it also is pronounced with imala. وَمَا بِالْيَا رُسِمْ. And same thing, every alif, وَمَا بِالْيَا رُسِمْ, any alif that is written in the form of ya is also going to have the ruling of imala. So words like asafa, ya asafa ala Yusuf. Asafa, it's written with a ya, pronounced as alif. It's alif that transformed into a ya. So any of those are also going to be recited with imala. But huruf, not verbs, not nouns, ila, ala, words like those are not going to have imala. Ila is going to be pronounced as ila, ala, ala, right? And he says, so ila, lada, ala, zakka, and verbs where it is written as a ya, is written as a ya, but it's not, originally it's a waw, or it's za'id. It's not changing from anything, it's additional, or it's changing over from a wow. Again, if you study Arabic language, you're going to make this part easier. Those are not pronounced with imala. Because, for example, zaka, the original is zaka wa, with a wow. So da'a, riba, safa, zaka, none of these are going to be pronounced with imala. So he says, hatta, ila, lada, ala, zaka, ultuzima. These are going to remain the same. Ultuzima, ikhrajuha. Siwahuma lam. Anyway, so these are going to be pronounced normally. Then he said, Siwahuma lam yumin. Other than the two of them, other than Hamza and al-Kisai, the other Qurra lam yumin. They didn't do much imala. Illa bi ba'din limahalliha i'dil. Except for a few places that are known. So, i'dil means know this, and recite it as it ought to be recited. So basically what he's saying, just to cover this again, is that Hamza and Kisai, the norm, the standard of their recitation is imala in the words that deserves imala. With the conditions that we mentioned, and that if you study qira'ah, you will study the conditions properly. The point is, when those conditions are fulfilled, Hamza and Kisai, the standard of their recitation is to do imala, while the others didn't do it that much. Ibn Kathir didn't do imala at all. In the qira'ah of Ibn Kathir, there is no imala. So if you look at the notes, we have Ibn Kathir none. Ibn Kathir didn't do imala. Ibn Amir, Asim and Qalun did it rarely. We know that Asim has one instance of it. And Abu Amr and Al-Warsh, they did imalat sughra, but not imalat al-kubra. Imalat sughra, we said, is when it's closer to the flat sound than it is to the kasra or the ya sound. Then we go to the mad. So mad also is one of those big chapters in the science of tajweed. Al-mad is to pronounce the letters with a stretch. And the Arabs, this was something embedded in the Arabic language, and they did it for many reasons. They did it for several reasons. They would stretch, they would do mad sometimes for ta'zeem, just to make something grand or to emphasize the greatness of something. Like in La ilaha illallah. Because of the greatness of it, they would stretch something like that. So they won't say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. That's mad. The point of that mad is to show the greatness of something. Or sometimes they did it to emphasize the negation of something. So there is something called lam al-tabri'a or lam al-nafiya lil-jins. Lam that negates an entire category of something. That entirely. So if we say, for example, it doesn't negate anything with conditions. Absolutely, categorical denial of something. The Prophet ﷺ, for example, says, "La ahada yadkhulul jannata illa bi rahmatillah." No one enters Jannah except by the mercy of Allah. That no one is a negation of anyone. And every single person we're talking about. Without conditions. We're not saying no person of this quality. We're saying no one at all completely. Somebody would say there's no man in the house. Say, La rajula fil bayt. To emphasize So they also would stretch for emphasis. So they would stretch for different reasons. So that style, because it's very common in the Arabic language, is also present in the Qur'an. Now the letters of stretching, the huruf al-mad, are alif, ya, and waw. Alif, ya, and waw. If the alif, the ya, and the waw, if they have any vowels on them, then they are called huruf illa. If they are preceded by fatha, then they are called huruf al-lin. If they are preceded by fatha. So waw preceded by fatha will be aw. That's the sound. With ya, ay. Alif, these are called huruf al-lin. If they are preceded by appropriate vowels, kasra, dhamma, fatha, then they are called huruf al-mad. So the rules that we're talking about now are the rules of mad. So there are two types of mad in general. There is the asli and the far'i. Asli means that it is not affected by any external reason. There's no reason to stretch except the occurrence of a harf of mad. The only reason we're stretching is there's this letter here and it's preceded by a vowel that makes it harf mad. For example, dhu, dhal, waw, dhu. Why do we say dhu and not dhu? Only because the waw is there, preceded by a dhamma. So, amen. Why do we say amen and not amen? Same reason. Why do we say imanun? And we don't say imanun, same reason. Ya preceded by kasra. So this is called asli or al-tabi'i, natural or unaffected mad. In other words, there's no external reason beyond the occurrence of the letter itself. Far'i is when there is a reason for it beyond itself. Like the hamza, a hamza being present. So you say, for example, ulaika. Why do we say ulai? And we don't say ulaika? Because there's a hamza. So the hamza, that's what makes the stretch. But the hamza is not related to the harf of the mad itself. It's beyond, it's outside of that. So the asli and the far'i. Then the far'i is separated into the muttasil and the munfasil. And the munfasil has 8 types. We're not going to go into that. That's for the science of tajweed. But he's going to speak about muttasil and munfasil. So muttasil and munfasil are 2 types of far'i mad. Mad, where the reason is not the letter of the mad itself. The reason for the mad is external to the letter itself. It's going to become clear as we continue. So he said, Rahimahullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh, by the way, the mudud is important and it's tawqifiyya. It's known from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are ahadith, we know this from the transmission. Nobody can stretch something if it hasn't been transmitted from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a stretch. So, anyway, so he says, نوعان ما يوصل أو ما يفصل وفيهما حمزة وورش أطول. So he says naw'an. Mad are of two types. But here what he means by mad are of two types, mad far'i are of two types. Mad that are affected by something beyond the letter of the mad itself are of two types. ما يوصل وما يفصل. يعني مد المتصل and مد المنفصل. المد المتصل is where the reason for the stretch is in the same word itself. المتصل, المد المتصل is where the reason for the stretch is in the same word. Yani it's one word. The reason we are going to, the stretch occurs in a word, and the reason for that stretch is in that word itself. This is called al-mad al-muttasil. So words like ulaika, words like sama, is one word. The reason, which is the hamza, is in the same word. It's not a combination of two different words. So this is al-muttasil. And al-mad al-muttasil is also referred to as al-mad al-wajib or al-mad al-lazim. Al-mad al-wajib or al-mad al-lazim. And the reason for this is there is no difference among the ulama that the mad al-muttasil must be stretched. So they don't differ on whether it should be stretched or not. They differ how long should it be stretched. So not should it be stretched, but how long should it be stretched. So he said, نوعان ما يوصل أو ما يفصل وفيهما حمزة وورش أطول. As it comes to mad al-muttasil and mad al-munfasil in both types. So let's talk about munfasil first. Al-munfasil is where the reason for the stretch is in a second word and not in the same word. So the combination would make you stretch. For example, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. So we say إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ. So why do we stretch إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ? إِنَّا is one word, we. أَنزَلْنَاهُ is a different word, have, sent down. So the hamza of the second word, the hamza at the beginning of the second word, أَنزَلْنَا, that hamza is the reason for the stretch. So munfasil is where the reason for the stretch is in other than the word itself. The reason is a combination of the two words coming together. That's why we stretch. Clear? And the reason for this is, the ulama differ, but in reality the difference is very similar. But what they say is the reason for the stretch is so that people do not take away from the fullness of the alif, or that's one opinion. The second opinion is that they don't take away from the strength of the hamza. You can combine both opinions and say in reality, the reason for this is that neither the fullness of the alif nor the strength of the hamza is taken away. Because if people read like full, just flow, either they take away from the fullness of the alif or from the strength of the hamza. So if somebody says, for example, Inna anzalnahu or Inna anzalnahu, but you want both. You want the fullness of the alif and the strength of the hamza. So if you stretch it out, you give people the time to do both. So anyway, so he says نوعان. So there are two types. ما يوصل وما يوصل. يعني متصل and منفصل. وفيهما همزة وورش أطول. in both المد المتصل and المد المنفصل, the longest stretch, he says Hamza and Warsh has the longest stretch. So for them it's 6 haraka. So you measure it by a opening and the closing of the finger. There's 3 haraka, 6, they call it beats. Open is 1, close is 2, open is 3, close is 4, open is 5, close is 6. 6. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 haraka. 6 haraka meaning movements, meaning 6 movements of the finger. So for them, they would stretch it for 6, 6. So that's the longest. So for Hamza and Warsh, both Mad al-Muttasil and Mad al-Munfasil are stretched to 6 haraka. So he says, وَفِيهِمَا حَمْزَةٌ وَوَرْشٌ أَطْوَلٌ. The longest is Hamza and Warsh. فعاصم فبعده ابن عامر مع الكساء فأبو عمرو حل. And then after that he said Asim, then followed by Ibn Amir, then Al-Kisa'i, and then Abu Amr. So Al-Mad Al-Muttasil for Asim, Al-Muttasil will be 4 and 5. 4 is permissible, 5 is permissible. Haraka. Ibn Amr will be 4, and Ibn Kathir and Abu Amr and Al-Qalun will be 4 and 3. And Al-Munfasil, Mad al-Munfasil, 4 and 4.5 for Asim. Ibn Kathir and As-Susi will be 2. So if we look at it, then we know for Mad al-Muttasil is no longer than 6 haraka, no shorter than 3. In between the different qurra, Mad al-Muttasil is not going to be pronounced for less than 3. 3 is the lowest between the different qira'at. 6 is the highest. For Mad al-Munfasil, 2 is the lowest and 6 is the highest. The Mad al-Munfasil, the ulama differ on whether it should stretch or not. This is why he said Muttasil, there's no difference of opinion. They just differ on the length. Mad al-Munfasil, they differ on both, and whether it should be stretched and they differ on the length. So anyway, فحسب then he says وحرف مد مكنه في المتصل طرا ولكن خلفه في المنفصل. We already mentioned that. In muttasil they agree on it, but they differ on the length, while they have a difference of opinion on mad al-munfasil, whether it should be stretched to begin with or not. Continue, or you guys want to break? I want to finish this chapter if we can before, but it's a lot of little rules, and we're just touching on it. The science of tajweed takes a good time to complete because you have to do sifat al-huruf, and it's a lot. Anyway, he says al-khamis takhfif al-hamza, to lighten the hamza. So he said that hamza is a strong letter, and when it comes to the mudud, they wanted to keep the strength, and some of the ulama say that the reason for the mad is to maintain the strength of the hamza, but they also try to there are ways of reducing the power of the hamza in the qira'at. So that also is in the Qur'an, because that's also something common in the Arabic language. So he said, تخفيف الhamza. These in the qira'at you will find different ways that was transmitted from the Prophet ﷺ of reducing the strength of the hamza. So he says, نقل فإسقاط وإبدال بمد من جنس ما تلته كيفما ورد. So basically there are 4 ways that they did this. The first is called naql. This is better. The vowel of the hamza is transferred to the letter before it. Naql is to be transferred. The vowel of the hamza is transferred to the letter before it. So it's going to be pronounced on the letter that comes before it. Man amana billah. Man amin. The hamza has what vowel? Fatha. That is going to go to the noon, and you're going to merge them. So you're not going to allow the hamza you're not going to pronounce the hamza with its full strength. In fact, you're going to move it over to the noon. So you're not going to say man aman, you're saying mana mana. Instead of man amana, mana mana, mana mana. So that's the first, naql. Naql, we transfer the haraka. The second...
Is that for all recitation, or is that specific to certain recitations?
It's specific to some recitations. Yeah. The second is called isqat. Isqat is really complete, it's going to sound the same, but we completely drop the hamza itself. So naql means transfer, and that's what the word naql means. Isqat means to be dropped. Saqata, to drop. Asqata means to remove. So the hamza itself is going to be removed in pronunciation. So for example, qad aflaha, qad aflaha. If you pronounce the hamza, you have a. Qad a. If you drop it, you have qad afla. قد أفلح. So you go to the fa. قد أفلح instead of قد أفلح. قد أفلح. So إبدال, he says نقل فإسقاط. The first you transfer, the second you drop. إبدال بمد. So إبدال بمد من جنس ما تلته. The third is to do ibdal, you replace it with a mad that is appropriate for what comes after it. What are the letters of mad? Alif, ya, wa. So you are going, instead of doing the hamza, you convert it into one of the letters of the mad that is following it. So, yu'minuna. Instead of saying yu'minuna, you say yu'minuna. Instead of mu'minun, you say mu'minun. Or like the فَأَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. So Yusuf, he was eaten by the wolf. أَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. You convert it to ذِئْبُ. Yeah. So فَأَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. So like that. Or مُؤْتَفِكَ, you say مُؤْتَفِكَ.
Those sort of words, you see like they have the man, so mu'min, but then on top of it's this small hamza. So is that some recitations will omit the hamza and read it as a
And then, so we have naqlun, so he says naqlun فَإِسْقَاطٌ وَإِبْدَالٌ بِمَدِّ مِنْ جِنْسِ مَا تَلَتْهُ كَيْفَمَا وَعَدْ. So as it comes in the Qur'an, that's how you, so you either do the waw, the ya, or the alif. Then he says نحو أئن فيه تسهيل فقط ورب همز في مواضع سقط. So he said تسهيل. In some places you will have تسهيل. Like the example he gives us نحو أئن. Like in the example أئن. So instead of أئن you'll say أئن. Instead of أئن you will say أئن with a ya instead of a hamza, which is also common in the Arabic language. So you will say, in Arabic you can say, these are, is هؤلاء مشائخنا, these are our مشائخ, or you can say هؤلاء مشايخنا. So again, so tasheel, because it's common in the Arabic language, you will find it in some of the qira'at of the Qur'an. So these are the four. He said naqlun, the four types of reducing the strength of the hamza. Naqlun, isqatun, ifdalun, and tasheel. وَرُبَّ هَمْزٍ فِي مَوَاضِعٍ سَقَطٍ. And it will even, in some qira'at, you will find that the hamza itself, in some places, are missing. Like it's not there in some qira'at. In the mushaf, in the masahif, in some places in the masahif, you would not find the hamza, you would find the replacement. So in some masahif, you would find, for example, it written yu'minuna, and the teacher telling you, you can recite it as yu'minuna. In some masahif, you will actually see yu'minuna. And instead of a'inna, you will actually see it written a'inna. So that's basically what he's saying. Some masahif you'll find that. Masahif that has been transmitted by tawatur. So he's saying, وَرُبَّ هَمْزٍ فِي مَوَاضِعٍ سَقَطٍ. That some hamza, in some places you will find it absent. وَكُلُّ ذَا بِالرَّمْزِ وَالْإِيمَانِ إِذْ بَسْطُهَا فِي كُتُبِ الْقُرَّاءِ. And all that we've mentioned so far is merely by allusion and brief indication, but the detail of all of these are to be found in the books of the Qur'an, in the scholars of Qur'an. So that last line he's saying, all that we mentioned so far, the point of it was just to give a glimpse of this aspect of ulum al-Quran, which has to do with qira'ah, but in reality, to get all of the details properly, you find that in the books of the Qur'an, in the books of qira'at al-Quran. Then the last one in this section that he talked about is al-idgham. Idgham is where one letter enters into another in pronunciation. Now the reasons for idgham are one, mumathala. Mumathala means that the two letters that are going to combine, the place of articulation in the mouth is the same, and the sifa of the quality of the letter is the same. So sifat al-huruf, studying the qualities of the letters of the Arabic language, is part of the science of tajweed. So he said, the first reason is mumathala, you have the same place, two letters coming from the same place of pronunciation, having the same quality. Or, so that's the first. The second reason for idgham is muqaraba, which is, it's not the same place of articulation, but it's coming from close to the same place. So it's seen and dal. They're not exactly 100% coming from the same place, but they're close to one another in the mouth. The place of origin in the mouth is close, seen and dal. Or mujanasa, which is coming from the same place of articulation, but they have different qualities. So for any of these reasons, you would have idgham occurring in the Qur'an. Like, for example, you say, Rabbihat tijara. Rabihat, tijara. Rabihat is one word, tijara. So Rabihat is the verb, tijara is the subject of the verb, the agent. But the first one ends with a ta, the second one starts with a ta. So if you want to pronounce both separately, it would sound like Rabihat tijara. Now that is difficult to pronounce. So what they'll do is combine the two. Rabihat ti, so it becomes like if it's one ta. Rabihat tijara. Instead of saying Rabihat tijara. So same letter, same tree. Or similar like ta and ta. So waddat ta'ifa. If you pronounce the ta and the ta, you have to say waddat ta'ifa. So what you'll do is you'll have idgham, where the ta and the ta, they combine. So you waddat ta. Instead of saying waddat ta. So, yeah, like lam and ra is common. You know, say bal rafa'ahu Allah. Say bal rafa'ahu Allah ilayh. So he says, rahimahullah, في كلمة أو كلمتين إن دخل حرف بمثل هو الإدغام يقول. So in one word or two words in dakhal. So in one word or two words, if the same letters or similar letters combine, then they enter each other, and that is called idgham. So in one word, for example, yartad, وَمَنْ يَرْتَدْ مِنْكُمْ. The dal, irtadda, in the one word has two dal. So you combine the two dal and you pronounce it with a shadda. So وَمَنْ يَرْتَدْ. So yeah, that's, she says one word or two word, like if for example bal lamma, these are two separate words. So you combine, you say bal lamma. So same word, same place of articulation, same sifa. ولكن أبو عمرو بها لم يدغم إلا بموضعين نصا علما. But he said that Abu Amr, in his qira'ah, he didn't do idgham. In the qira'ah of Abu Amr, there is no idgham except in two places that the narrators of his qira'ah clearly identified. So in the qira'ah of Abu Amr, there are only two places of idgham that have been mentioned by the narrators of his qira'ah. In manasikakum, that's in manasikum instead of manasikakum. And salakakum, meaning ma salakakum fi saqra, ma salakum. These are the two instances of idgham in the qira'ah of Abu Amr. After that, he goes on, he says, now he goes back to issues that really impact on tafsir. In the next chapter, he says, on that which goes back to the words of the Qur'an, and then he's going to now speak about the words of the Qur'an in terms of being Arabic, non-Arabic, and how to understand the words of the Qur'an in terms of generality versus any specific words that are am, words that are general, words that are specific, words that are conditional, words that are not conditional, and so on. So that's it. We'll continue with that in the next session. Inshallah. هذا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. There's just one correction I need to make in the, I think the fourth lesson. I said that one of the signs of a Makki surah is that it speaks about the munafiqun. This was mentioned in the Hashiyah of Al-Alawi Ibn Al-Abbas, which is one of the Hawashi that we're using. But Brother Khalid, who just went there, he pointed out to me that that is a mistake. When I cross-reference it with the Itqan of Imam Suyuti and others, it is in fact a mistake. So, mention of the Munafiqun being a sign of a Makki surah, that was a mistake. Mention of the Munafiqun is a sign of a Madani surah, not a Makki surah. So just make that correction, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward Brother Khalid and cause us to benefit from him and from the other students. Inshallah. هذا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الحمد لله رب العالمين.